Look, we turning conversation into application. This ain't for you if you can't handle deep communication. I see too many trying to teach when they need all the teaching. If you can't practice what you preach, then what's the point of speaking? Look, we thank the Lord for another season. Don't think they ready for you, Lee. I think them boys are sleeping. But we gon' hustle every hour like it's our last. Open up your mind, it's the converSAYtion podcast. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the converSAYtion podcast, where we turn conversation into application. I am your host, Leon Reed Jones, and today I got a very special guest in the building, man. Funny enough, the way we met was at one of the best schools ever in Detroit, Duke Ellington. And I remember first or second grade, I'm not really sure, but I was walking to the restroom, and I think it was around Halloween, and I saw somebody come through with a Freddy Krueger costume on and like strike their claw at me. I'm like, oh, this dude tripping. But I got none other than my brother here, Tahon Johnson. What's up, bro? You good?
What's up, bro? I'm chilling, yo.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
and this
sir.
episode is dedicated to my guy, Terrence. It's his birthday today. So
my brother at the chain gang. Happy birthday, brother.
Yes, sir, man. Glad to have you, bro. I feel like I'm underdressed, man. You came with the bow tie, the suspenders, man. I feel like, dang, I got a
demonstration. Got to be militant, man.
For sure, man. So, question that I ask all of my guests is, if somebody had to describe Tahon or who Tahon is, what would you say to him?
I would tell him that Tahon is the epitome of resilience. Whatever I go through, whatever habitat or environment I'm in, I'm gonna come out with the best resources. Period.
For sure. Yeah, man. I can definitely agree with you on that, man, because from knowing you since we've been kids and now we grown men, I can definitely see that, man. One thing I always admired about you, and I don't know if I ever told you this, but like, man, you having my back and, you know, always being headstrong about whatever you wanted to do. Like, it was nothing that could stop you. Like, you always had this mindset or this mentality ever since I known you. Like, man, only person that's gonna stop me is me. Like, sure, anybody else in my way, they just in my way. Like, nothing that anybody says, does, it's not gonna stop me, bro. So again, I'm definitely glad to have you on, bro.
Sure, appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All praises.
So just us chopping it up a few days ago, I want to start here. So just go back to your upbringing and how you were brought up, and how did that shape your outlook on life?
Okay, pretty much I was brought up like most of us was brought up, besides a few exceptions. A single parent home in the hood, you know, with a lot of peer pressure, a lot of bad influences. But like I say, I make the best of my situation. I had a pretty headstrong mom that instilled a lot of morals and principles and made sure we understood structure, you know, and pretty much I ain't gonna get on here and say I had the worst childhood, but, you know, it was hard times for sure, but we know they don't last, you know?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I made the best of what I had, you know, and that's that.
Yeah, man. And how would that shape your outlook on life? Like, when you coming from a single parent home and only having one parent and growing up in the hood, like, how did that shape how you view the world or what your mentality was?
Well, based on what I know now, I can say that I was moving off a lot of emotion, because, like, from what I've seen so far, like me coming over your home and, you know, dealing with Pops, shout out to Pops, you know, he moved different. Like, men move different from women. So as a man, when you get mad, if you move off emotion, you know, that can change the trajectory of your life.
Yeah,
you know? So
sure.
it did for me growing up, especially seeing what I seen and my homeboys carrying themselves the way they carried themselves. I thought it was like, I glorified the way they carried themselves, you know, and I ended up going down the rabbit hole of incarcerations, you know, and pretty much from 2017 or 2018 until January of this year, I was a product of the penal system. You know, I had a number on my back to the point where any hiccup as far as getting pulled over for a traffic infraction could have me behind bars, you know. So now I'm just, all praise be to the Most High, I'm just blessed that I got that off my back and I'm able to transition into, you know, my full potential.
Yeah, man, for sure. And having those characteristics and being in that situation, like, what was the vision at first for you? Like, what was the plan for you being in the hood, coming from that background? Like, what did you want to do, and do you feel like that vision is still the same for you today?
Okay, with the first question, I feel like I really wanted to make my mama happy,
Yeah.
and make my family happy, as far as my grandma and my aunties and the immediate people who was around me growing up, because I'm not the only person that lived in a single family home. A lot of people come from this. A lot of my family members come from this, and I just wanted to satisfy everybody. But me learning through trials and tribulations that sometimes, even if you're doing the right thing, you're not going to satisfy some people, know? So people have this vision of you that they want you to be, and it's up to you to either live that vision or kind of like be the black sheep. And not saying be the black sheep as in to be rebellious, but understand generational curses that's upon your family and break them, So, and what was the second question?
So how do you feel like that wanting to make your people happy, and your mom, your aunts, your grandma, do you feel like that vision is still the same today, or how has that changed? If you feel like it's changed?
Of course, but I feel like I have a way heavier duty, a way heavier purpose, because of my extensive research and what I've learned and the agendas against us as a people, as a person, so I feel more as if I have a lot of helping to do, and a lot of educating to do as well.
Yeah. And for you, you talked about how you were incarcerated. So go back to the first time that happened, and what was rolling through your mind? Because again, I talked about like how ever since I known you, like it was always like, yo, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna work a summer job. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go get this. I'm gonna go get, like, I want this. I want these type of shoes. I'm gonna go do this. Right. I want this. I'm gonna have a plan in place so that I can go get that. So like, even having that mentality, but as you said, being around the certain environment, and you at the time you really not processing generational curses. You may have an idea of what they are, but you trying to figure out how to be a teenager or like even a kid, and you got this, in a certain sense, a burden over you, because it's like, this is what I want, but this is what I'm around every day. So what was that first incident like, and how did you handle it?
Okay, I remember it vividly. I was probably 19 going on 20. I believe 18, just turned 19. And I had caught a case with my brother. It was over, I want to say, like a prejudice situation where if I was the man I am today, would have never took place. But like I said, growing up in that single parent home, the only time your mom get mad at you, and even when she disciplines you, it's out of emotion. Like a man can discipline you, y'all can smile and go play catch right after that, but a woman really wants you to understand that she's trying her hardest, and some of the backed up energy she has, like from that's not being expressed, is going to go into the instructions she's trying to put on you. So we made a decision that we wish we could have took back, because my brother is still incarcerated from it, so I'm gonna tiptoe over the subject. But my first time being incarcerated, I really, it was like a wake-up call. It was like, okay, this is what leading with emotion gonna get you. This is what not being purpose driven is gonna lead you to. And I wouldn't say it was the biggest wake-up call I had, because I had more after that when I was steady in the rabbit hole and the loop of being incarcerated, but that showed me who truly wants to see you win, who truly wants to make sure you okay in life. And it was a pretty terrible situation, but it was beautiful at the same time, because I feel like when you were incarcerated in the penal system, it's a lot of education in there. It's a lot of ancestral instruction in there. So it's like, most, like how they say most real people is dead or in jail. That's kind of like a fact, because most of the information and education is from the Panthers and NOI, and a lot of different black power structure is kind of harnessed in those situations, so I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't go through those certain situations.
Yeah. And for me, you talked about how, it happened once, then it happened again. So like, when you going through these things and you had that first incident and you like, this is how it is, or, you know, you really get to see who's who. So when it happened again, what was that mentality? What made you, you know, have another situation like that? Or what was the mindset at that time?
See, at that time I was surviving. And when you survive and you forget to live, you know, it's like, okay, he did this to my homie. All right, we gotta get back, or we gotta do this or do that. And mind you, I'm not sober minded at this time. I'm off a lot of drugs. You know, like drugs really play a part in not moving in a straight line. Like, you know, I was never taught to do drugs. You know, so it was me growing up and succumbing to peer pressure, and you know, I succumbed to peer pressure, and I felt like it was certain things that was my duty to stand on, because the people around me wasn't standing on what they were supposed to be standing on. So I felt like me being the oldest, the most educated, I could slip through and not get in trouble for handling certain situations. In the way I wanted to handle them, man. It wasn't true. I had to touch a stove to see it was hot. You know? So I when I ended up in the situations, I'm looking like, man, here we go again. Like, I hate this place. How am I here again? But everything I feel like is divine timing. I feel like
for sure,
the Creator, the Most High, won't put you through certain situations if that's not what you're praying for. That's not what you're ready for. Certain things happen, and it's no. I don't believe in what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? Coincidences. I don't believe in that. I believe that everything happens for a reason, and either you learn or you don't.
Yeah. And you talked about how that was a wake up call for you, man. So like, once you got the wake up call and you're like, no, this is what I need to do with my life. Like, what was that process like for you?
So after my last time being incarcerated, well, it was probably the time before the last time being incarcerated, I basically had an epiphany, and I sat back and looked at like the trajectory that my life was in, and how smart I am as a person and my potential, and it wasn't adding up. I was seeing like, okay, you had these certifications under your belt, you got this going on, you got this, but you like real life a loser. You going to jail and you doing like, you know, and it's like as a man, you know, especially this is before my son, it was like, it's hard to put into words, because like me as a person, like you said, I'm purpose driven or goal driven. Whatever I want, I'm gonna go get. So it was like I was basically chasing something that I didn't want. I was steady going to jail through this loophole, and I sat back and I peeped game like, okay, this is what's gonna have to take place. And I feel like you can't change your mind until you change your gut. So the first thing that I did, I started looking into like health wise, like, okay, I need to change my whole situation. I need to eat a little better, eat a little cleaner, you know, and switch up my crowds, change who I'm around, you know. And once I changed up my crowds and changed how I was eating, everything else just coincided. It was like information was being poured out to me. So instead of me scrolling on Instagram and TikTok and seeing, you know, guns and this and that, it was Dr. Sebi and Dr. Yaki Awakened and you know, different mentors and stuff like that. So
and you talked about having your son and, you know, being around different information that kind of basically motivated you to move away from the life that you knew before. So would you say that was hard to leave, or like where you were at in that point in your life, or like what was that like for you?
No, it wasn't. Actually, it wasn't hard to leave. It was probably the easiest thing to do, because it was like, I won't say perpetration, but it was like I wasn't the person that I truly am. You know, I'm truly a genius. Like I'm truly destined for greatness. And it was like I was literally dumbing myself down to be around my peers and to have fun in certain situations. Like I can have fun without drinking and smoking. I can have fun without doing different drugs, you know. But it was like, this is what everybody else doing, so let's do it. You know?
Type of situation. And so, like, what do you feel as far as like, you know, we're grown men now and we've done things, you know, some we may not be proud of, other things we've learned and we've grown. So what would you tell a guy that's going on the same path that you started on and that's trying to kind of either get away from that life, or he's saying like how you say, you know, oh, everybody doing it, so
Right.
let me do it. What would you
I
say to that kid?
I would tell them to just trust their gut and just be yourself, because a lot of people say that and it barely carries weight, because you thinking like, okay, everybody gonna say that, that's cliche.
Right.
But just be yourself. When you truly be yourself, you know, you start reaping the benefits of what you sow. You know, you start seeing like, okay, people will listen to me, and people want to hear this information, instead of me dumbing myself down and doing this trying to fit a certain perspective of a certain audience. When you truly be yourself and be the genius you are and handle certain situations accordingly, people gonna take heed. You know, you're gonna get way more of a communion in your people paying attention to what you're doing on whatever spectrum it is, whether you, if you feel like your purpose is to do this, or you have a higher calling, whichever purpose it is, it doesn't, I'm not saying just be the holiest person you can or be the lowest vibrating entity you can, but at the end of the day, trust your gut and your intuition and be yourself. As long as you be yourself, it's gonna get you a long way.
Yeah. And what would you say is the difference between the Tahon in the past and where you are now?
The Tahon in the past, the childhood Tahon was more bubbly, more class clownish, more giggly, more wanting to play all the time. Like no switch, even something serious down to dark humor, you know? But it's like now that my eyes, the universe opened my eyes to different agendas and different ways of thinking, it's like I'm kind of more serious now. I still got the little laugh in me, joking me, but it's like life is way more serious now, and it's kind of like, I won't say it's bittersweet, because like in my heart I kind of carry around a lot of malice because of the way certain people like the elites carry us as a person, as a people, like the agenda as in depopulation and a lot of things. But that's just something that just I carry every day, like contaminating our water and certain things that shouldn't even be spoke on, but that they do, like liquor stores on every corner and dispensaries becoming more prevalent and stuff like that to slow us down as a race, you know. So me taking certain things like those agendas serious, it just made me sit back, and sometimes I don't have that play left in me, because I understand we on the clock, and I understand like people is looking up to me, even though I don't see them every day. People call me every now and then, shoot me a text like, keep doing what you're doing, I appreciate the knowledge you kick to me every now and then. And you know, so the time now is way more serious, way more prepared for whatever is going to take place.
For sure, man. And what do you feel like have been some steps that you've taken to get to the point to where you are now?
I done took a lot of backward steps, but pretty much just preparation, trying to incorporate a lot of discipline and a lot of confidence in the way I carry myself and the way I speak. Because like when I was off of drugs, a lot of drugs, I was so, I won't say insecure, but I was very anxious. So some things I think twice about, like situations like this. But with me understanding what I understand now, I feel like you got to be impeccable with your word. If you tell somebody you're gonna do something, you got to do it, and you got to be very integrity. Like you have a lot of integrity in your word and what you're saying, and make sure it carry weight. So, you know, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, man. And so, what has been the plan now? Like you've done the research, you've got a second chance at life, which a lot of people they don't really get. So, what has been your main focus now?
My main focus primarily is my son and myself, because if you cannot, if you can't help yourself, you can't help nobody.
Right.
You know, like me personally, I say myself because I'm trying to be the best example I can be for my son, because I'm good. I could talk you to death. I could tell you anything because I do a lot of research and all that, but one day your kid's gonna find out who you truly is as a person. We all have, you know, so you have to walk that walk like you talk, you know, and that's primarily my main goal. I can't tell you the plan because I'm taking it day by day like everybody else. But my definite plan is to get a balance of homeostasis, to understand the higher self and the lower self, because sometimes I had battles doing that. You know, it's like the Looney Tunes where you used to have the Donald Duck on this shoulder and the Donald on that shoulder, and it's like, okay, who I'm gonna listen to? So right now I'm going through a constant battle right like that right now, because it's like I didn't cut off the peer pressure. It's no longer I will succumb to that peer pressure, and like it's a lot of false information out here too on the higher self side. So you could be leading down the road that's destined for failure, you know. So it's just finding a balance in between the both, and that's pretty much my goal right now. You know?
Yeah.
And then my plan is basically to build generational wealth and break those curses.
Yeah, man. So, and what would you title this chapter of your life right now?
The transition. Because people who knew me before will see me now and think I'm a whole totally different person, but I'm just the same person, just changed by the environments I've been in, you know, and the situations that I came across. So it's like the transition, because, you know, look what I am now compared to what I used to be.
That's a fact, man. So now we're going to move into another segment of the podcast. It's called Let Me Get to Know You. So we're going to do something a little different. It's called word association. So I'm going to throw a word out there, and whatever comes to mind, you associate it with that word. So the first word is fear.
The killer of joy.
Okay. Journey.
A path everybody must do on their own.
Success.
Depending upon the goal.
Okay. And I'm always big on giving my guests their flowers, man. Bud can't make us any closer, man. You my brother. We could go months, years without talking to each other. As soon as we hit each other up, it's like nothing ever changed, bro. So again, I'm proud of you. I love you, man. It's glad to see your son, man, and see you doing your thing and getting back on that path, bro. You know. So before we get out of here,
to be here, I appreciate it, brother.
Yes, sir, man. Glad to have you. And just seeing you here, man, it's just a blessing, bro. You just don't know, man. So before I get out of here, man, I always like to end with a quote. The quote says this: I made some mistakes that I can't change, but I changed so I don't make the same mistakes. Thank y'all for tuning in to the converSAYtion podcast. We'll see y'all same time, same place. Sure, man.
In and out too. Yeah, man. So what season is this you on?
So